Brooke McPoyle, we're back. And soon we'll be back together in the flesh, exchanging vibrations, energy, wisdom,
Roars.
lessons. Oh, certainly, most certainly roars, primal, guttural roars. That was absolutely one of the highlights of Confluence last year. And I remember talking to my friend Lauren Madej shortly after we did a two-person review highlight show of Confluence, and she was right there with us. I mean, just belting from the ground, from the feet. You know, who knew that even something
Yeah.
like sound was ground up? We make such a big deal out of that in sport, how much of our efforts are ground up, and it turns out things like sound and energy can come from the earth as well. So, of all the places to begin, Brooke, tell us, since Confluence last year, in from April to April, from New Year to New Year, what have been some of the highlights of your life, especially as you build this empire, this impact? I mean, it's just so much fun to see you in some way, let it rip on Instagram every day, and just embody that go for it mentality. I believe that this really is the year to go for it. I'm embracing that mantra, just letting it rip in all that I do. So, how far flung have your adventures been this last year? And with that, welcome.
Wow. Happy to be back, Tom. Excited to see you, truly. This year I'll be there for all 4 days,
Yeah.
teaching 3 workshops. So I'm excited to kind of feel the pulse longer. Last time I like literally dipped out after the second workshop because I had already had another trip planned before that.
Yeah.
So this year there that was in the books
Yeah.
for a while. There's so much that has happened. Some of my content was taken by other creators and kind of ripped apart online.
Oh,
Yeah, and whatever. When my content is their best performing video, it's kind of it's okay.
oh yeah. And
But
to avoid criticism, Brooke, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing.
yeah. And so, but I really sat with it because I didn't know I didn't want to publicly respond. I wanted to feel more confident because like normally people can say something to me and it doesn't shake me, but this shook me in a way where I was like, you know what? Who do I really want to like train with? Who do I really want to like get into the nitty-gritty and stand over a dead body? Because like I'm an athlete. Like, yeah, okay, so I fixed my hip, and yeah, I've helped like thousands of people like fix their joint pain and help their breath pattern. And I built this thing for breathers, but like it has musical breath work kind of feels like a life force of its own now. And I'm auditing all of my shit through bigger brains than mine now because I want to fine tooth comb it to be sharper, better, more poignant. I've learned so much about filming since recording our initial videos that when I look at my courses now, I'm just like, man, I could teach recovery so different. Like the problem I'm having, Tom, is that when I initially came out as I'm a coach. So I took the coaching protocol to the digital platform thinking
Hmm.
like, okay, if my athlete wants to come to a breath class, they come to a breath class. If they want a fascia class, so like I always saw recovery as something that you stack together. And interacting with so many kinds of people online, I realized that like my teaching could use refinement because like some of the words are unnecessary. And this is where I kind of I want to be the bridge for the academics because like when you make it too in the nomenclature of medical academia, you lose people. Like you need to communicate in a language that they resonate with, that's relevant to their life, that is you know not just marketed but like packaged in an understandable way for people, like not just the top 2% of the world that read research papers all the time. So there, I think that there's this natural need for educators to stand in this educated bridge between the academia and this. And I feel like as an athlete last year, I was going to these conferences, my protocols are working, I'm trying to figure it out, and now I feel like I see the gap. Like I see how academics like hate me. I got a big ass platform. I've been in it for a handful of years. They've been doing it since before I was born.
Hmm.
Like I'm the grifter. I'm the bad guy to some of these
Hardly.
academics. And so now I am I've been really taking the last handful of months to just invest in my own education. I've read a shit ton, and I have my own opinion now, like being in the rooms with people about like who the real knot of nobility is, which is very interesting. Like these scientists, like when shit gets a little weird, like there is a head honcho boss man. Like
Yeah.
there really is like a final boss in the academic circles, and it's like I found my final boss and I'm getting everything fucking tightened up around it because like I'm ready now as an athlete to present this information in a way that we can really make a difference. And it's not just like me saying, hey, it's worked and it's worked for these people, but like, hey, how can I make it better? How can I make it tighter? How can I, help the people that are responding this way? And water, Tom, is still fucking overlooked. Like everything is about hyaluron in fascia tension for me. It's not about ripping it apart. It's all about getting the rivers to detangle from each other, and it's understanding that the body dehydrates and it dampens. So there's a language that we learn when we listen to it, and that language around surgeries and around loose fascia is very peculiar, and that's a language I want to have a better understanding of the recoil and the rebounding mechanism, that elastic mechanism within the tensegrity structure itself, and how it folds together, and how if you overstretch it, you can kind of mess up the structure. And if you break it, like where are our limitations? And I'm really enjoying like this, so there's been some weird things that happen online that caused me to kind of go back into the turtle shell and just be like, how can I find my inner confidence on a global stage? Because I may know my stuff, but when you're dealing with, different kinds of rooms, you really want to polish the language in a way that's the most truthful. And I feel like I've been in that refinement process. I also, we did our two first international retreats over in Germany. Those were a huge success. We got invited back, which is awesome. We got a lot of speaking engagements coming up. And I am terrified. Like I feel like I should be. I feel white-knuckled. Every day is an opportunity for me to use my own protocols to like trust the bravery of each situation. But I feel also like simultaneously, I see the chaos in people's minds. I feel like people right now are questioning the narrative of big pharma, big energy, and big agriculture more than ever. And it is a great opportunity for our generation to birth businesses and birth industries and birth products that take money away from the three-headed monster that is, and educate and broadcast and help each other make conscious consumer choices so that we drive the markets away from knee, hip, and back surgery, away from pain meds as the only fucking solution, away from purified water in plastic. Like, who is that helping? Like there's so many things to fix. It's the billions of dollars of industries that like just don't make sense long term. So it's like we got to get busy, we got to get educating, we got to get focused. That's why I'm excited to hang out with you again. It's like, wow, you got a bunch of little circuits that are all doing their jobs. Like it's kind of like tune up together.
Circulating, very much so. And I feel inspired knowing that you're willing to go into the laboratory. The alchemical historical idea of the laboratory is, yes, there is the lab element where you tinker and you experiment, and then the oratory where you come out praising God. You come out praising all that is creation and natural. So, we have the idea of, I still like to say that I'm in the lab. As you know, it doesn't purely mean what is physical and what is inert and things like that. It has much more to do with creation. And I'm curious, of the several avenues that we can travel together from that. What aspect of your arsenal do you feel is now the sharpest? You've gone from that, you've had those nudges to revisit.
Breath to me, I feel top tier with breath. In kind of all cases except diving past like 20 feet. There's other breathwork teachers. Like if you want to be a deep, deep diver, I can't take you deep. If you want to be loud, if you want to increase your volume, I got you there. If you want to detox the lungs, if you want to fix the nasal cavity, if you want to, get through allergies, if you want to double your capacity, I feel like I got that down. So breath to me is there. Fascia is so amorphous. I feel like the results I'm getting with people that are doing the training 80% of the time is absolutely unbelievable, like including eyesight being fixed, joint pain going away,
Water.
chronic inflammation going away. But hypermobile people, EDS people, lymphedema people, they all require something a little bit more modified for their tissues and where their tissues are at. And that requires a deeper conversation around water, minerals, how much are you sweating, because my protocol will just move things through the tubes. If you have too much fluid and everything is jam-packed, in my philosophy, we need to move that out. That's not what you read in any of the books, but I think like the number one way for people to help their fascia is to think of water in, water out. So if your body feels like bloated and stuck and you feel stiff as hell, and when you sweat, your body feels more sore, your water is communicating to you an issue in your sponge elasticity, and it's simply corrected with water in, water out. You want high quality of water in, and you want to be sweating at least 3 days a week hard, and you don't have to earn it. You can just sit in a sauna, sit in a hot bath, sit in a hot vehicle, but let every gland in you dump. And if you can't do that, you have to start working up to it. It is a problem if your body's not sweating.
Very much so. And especially these last couple of years, I take a bath almost every night. And I ruminate in my thoughts and sometimes my own urine because there's so much good to be had. This is not my piss, for the record. This is kombucha. But another time we can enjoy that together. I don't know if you've experimented with that at all.
I feel like I'm not no. Like maybe I did that in another lifetime, but no.
Well,
I'm not gonna. I mean, if you guys all like it, that's fine. It's just,
Topher Gardner, who's opening up the talks at Confluence this year, is a piss connoisseur. So I don't think he's going to be standing on that soapbox. But if I can make one claim, and in my studies of natural law, I'm quite conscious of what it means to make a claim. I think So I'll preface by saying I believe that part of it's the aversion is so much of our exposure to even just the fragrance of urine is public bathrooms and that's people on drugs and alcohol and pharmaceuticals and bad food, and that certainly taints it. Otherwise, it's something endogenous and natural to us, and it's really too rich with things like minerals and stem cells and microzyma to be completely waste. Of course, it is. I mean, the caveat there being you do have to be pretty clean, and there are some complications there when you eat a lot of animal products. That doesn't quite make it as pure. I have a dear friend, Mark, who's going to be coming on the podcast, who's been a whole food or a whole plant food based eater as well as his family for 20 years, and makes his urine a regular part of his diet. And has absolutely, has stunning white teeth, great skin for 50 plus, the energy's through the roof, and the hydration factor is supreme. That aside, one thing that I wanted to posit to you, Brooke, because I continue to turn this over in my mind, and thankfully we're entering into the abundant time of the year where fruits and mostly fruits and berries become more available to someone like me here in New England. I think I've landed in a place where water, in its simple form, meaning no mineralization or anything like that. I have some delicious spring water here, so there's a structure to that. But when you talk about water in, water out, I think of water as, yes, hydrating and also flushing. Because I'm considering that something like fruit and plant kingdom in general might actually be the more reliable source of pure hydration because it's structured, because it has that assimilation factor. So what are your candid thoughts on that? Should we be relying on water, maybe a little bit of mineralization and structure to that, as the primary potent source of hydration for our bodies, or is there probably a marriage of plants to be relied upon as well? What do you think?
What a great question. I wish I had a better answer for you. I Do you think that hydration levels are different for different people? Because it depends on where you live, how much you're sweating, how much you're moving your body. So there's not like one formula that would work for a college athlete that's going to work for the office person.
Yeah.
um, for me, I really think that getting plastics out of the water, it's like if we talk about slowly increasing your quality, I think like optimal, like there is a magic to coconut water. It does hydrate you differently than normal, spring water does per se. I let me say this, like during the summer times here in Florida when I'm sweating a ton, I love doing juices, and I think juices and coconut water are kind of more of the staple of my diet than actual water. And that's just because I think they're so hydrating. A lot of people say that like fruit juices and the water that comes out of fruit is H3O2. It's structured in that beautiful way that like our body can easily absorb, but like water with lemon juice, that spring water can do the same for a person. So I don't know. Hydration to me it's so sticky because not everybody drinks water and their cells uptake it.
Yeah.
If in order for the cell to uptake the hydration, they have to have good minerals. Minerals act as like this lock and key mechanism. And it's all about balance. Like that's why I'm always talking about tuning the body. It like if you just dump in, if I say okay, you need a gallon of water a day, like for instance, and people just drink that whole gallon at one shot, that's just gonna flush to the body and dilute it. So when we start thinking of the body as a river system that needs to be like cleaned and tuned and managed, I think the better questions we can ask about hydration is like, do we have good water coming in and do we have good water coming out? Because I think a lot of people are obsessed with the water going in and they're not ever sweating.
Yeah.
And like the women that have like chronic carpal tunnel and we do a little bit of fascia flow and their hands start to sweat because it's just stagnant water stuck in their system. I kind of feel like we're missing the point. The body's always communicating whether it's hydrated or not. Best hydration is going to come from fruit juices and spring water. That's only touched glass. Purified plastic bottled water should get out of people's lives as much as possible. If you have reverse osmosis, you definitely want to be on a mineral or thoughtful about your mineral intake because like you're not getting that from your water source. Man, there's so much to say. Did I kind of answer your question?
No, thank you for diving into to that stream there because I've seen that, the obsession with or even because now I'm more wary. Best thing I can do for myself is continue to tinker, and I have just about completely removed all. I'm trying to think, with the exception of Shilajit, I have no regular supplementation. No more creatine. Got to wait. Just finished my last batch of molecular hydrogen tablets. I know there's some great products that make that an infusion for as part of the filtration system. And so I bring that up because I used to be, especially for tennis, competitive tennis, would be crushing LMNT, 32 ounces at a time, and try to drink almost a whole one while I played. And I felt the gut upset with that, Brooke. I felt just the disruption with maybe too much of those minerals, that balance, because I know it is sort of an extreme, based on what even a sweaty athlete might need. And I've had no issues with hydration since I removed those from my supplementary performance diet over a year ago. But I've seen, one note I have that my friend Mark mentioned to me the other day is that health used to be a process and now it's a product. And so much of, what does that make you think when I say that? Give it away.
Well, I wanted to congratulate you for listening to your body and like realizing that supplements are something that normally were sold, but like fasting is one of the greatest things that we can give to our body, and no one is gonna rep that.
No.
But like we need so much less than we currently like. I'm on a little bit of a fasting streak. I met a person who's been doing mono meal, and they look spectacular. And I've done like heavy duty fasting. I like it. I like the buzz, like waking up and having green tea and then running for 6 hours on like a good meditated high. I enjoy that feeling in my stomach, and I enjoy it how it feels in my body. Um, and then dialing how I ground it to me has always been kind of like dictated by whatever diet I was experimenting with. And I've done it all. I've done paleo, I've done vegan, I've done mucusless, I've done
Mm.
carnivore. I've had a great time exploring how my body responds to different kinds of foods. And where I've landed these days is it's just like I can eat whatever I want if I keep my detox pathways open and I keep my minerals and hydration dialed. And if I want to lean out because I'm about to do a shoot or whatever, I just, I up the juice and up the salads. And then if I want to do whatever I want and eat pizza and hamburger, I can. I just know that I'm going to like do some more saunas the following week. And I'm going to up, like, so I'm always playing with these dials, but I don't feel restricted. And I'm trying to not get infatuated with protein. Like, I've made this jump to mineral infatuation where I'm like more concerned about my minerals. Like, I eat celery now because it's just like it's got great sodium. And like, we need more sodium than just salt. My mineral of choice right now is survival moss. And it's the sea moss minerals that have been freeze dried. So it tastes like fish food. I mean, it's great, but like my body likes it. And I just got one for 4 months. I've been experimenting with it, and it's salt water that's like taken from a fancy ocean. It comes in these glass vials.
Quintons, yes?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when I play golf, all the homies I play with drink shots, and they all get so excited. So I bring out those mineral shots, and
Mix one of those.
The ritual though of them breaking the glass lets them look forward to it, because like otherwise, like I brought mushrooms this week, like a mushroom tincture to drop in everybody's mouth. I'm like, it's good for your cognitive function. Shut the fuck up, And none of them would take it. After I gave it to my brother and he made the face, I couldn't talk anybody else into it. But in those little glass vials, I can get like the ceremony of it.
Yeah. It's probably a little too maternal of you. No one wants to be little boyed by a woman of your size. Shut the fuck up and open your mouth. But I think the Quintons are a terrific option. I think the first time we had those was at Confluence, and those have been definitely some great tools. And you're speaking to, I mean, what I hear, Brooke, is that you sound like basically a flexitarian qualitarian, is when you talk about being able to shift according to what you feel like, and not living in that state of constant criticism, which is easy to do as a coach and an athlete, and hyperanalyze the choices you make, and still, you have a toolkit that allows you to adapt and respond, and not be in that feedback loop of that I've certainly done my best to disabuse people of, which is I ate this, so now I need to go do X, hard workout or something like that.
Well, how we set our goals and how we talk to ourselves, I've really changed. Like the goals I'm seeking now are, it's like true mobility. Like I'm exploring my joints in a way that I've never explored as an athlete. And I'm not like releasing any of the stuff online yet because I still think I am playfully experimenting with like what's going to work for me. And it keeps becoming a little simpler. It just involves a wall. And I'm able to do these hip rotations that works the joint in every direction. And these spiral hip movements, like we don't get. Not on any of the machines, not on any of the yoga moves. Like even in a yoga mat, like you're on a mat. Like so many of the moves are just like linear, stay within your space. So when I go to the gym now, somebody recently was talking about how like the gym has become work. And like they're just following, like here's just another set of to-do lists I gotta do, or I gotta pick up some heavy stuff. And it became less about listening, and like whatever clicked for me, I don't know if it was a video or a conversation I was having with like a bodybuilder friend. I went to the gym that day and I was like, I'm just going to have a good time. And I left my routine in the car. And since then I haven't looked back because my body speaks very loud.
It's liberating.
Yeah.
It's so liberating.
No music in my ears, no phone, and I just like go and it's like, okay, body, what do we need today? And some days we need a lot of work, and some days we need we need to take a nap in the sauna, basically. Not actually, but like that dialogue to me is so much deeper that my body to me always looks good now because I'm working with it. I'm not inflaming it. I'm not getting injured. I'm like becoming infatuated with how my toes can maneuver when I exhaust them. Interesting.
Into that playfulness has been my medium of personal potential exploration for a couple of years now, and it has aligned with the systems popularized by people like Marv Marinovich, Brian McGinty, who's someone who's Power Plus on Instagram, and I talk about his work all the time, because the parlance in the industry of, you could say, fitness or performance. I joke with people, everyone's a high performance coach these days. I say I'm a low performance coach. I work with beginners and anyone in between. I would never discriminate based on that. And because no one's a clean slate, Brooke, certainly. And still, I love the opportunity to introduce any and everyone to their posture, to their toes, to their spine, to their rib cage, certainly to their breath. And I'm so immensely grateful to you for spearheading my enlightenment with that. And I bring that up because the parlance of fitness and performance talks so much about fast twitch and elasticity. And I know that you actually have an academic reasoning for talking about things like elasticity. I have a note here to talk about dehydrate versus dampen. You said that that's what the body does and the fascia does. And I'm keen to make this a post and share this with people, because when people come out on the tennis court and everyone's coming in hot from their life, and rare is the person who can unburden themselves of their baggage to then go play a fairly focused match or practice or session or whatever. And of course, the first thing I see people do is start yanking on their body, start trying to forcibly touch their toes and pull their heel to their butt and big stretch the calves out. And I pretty much don't hesitate to say, hey, just get moving here. Like, let's just get the body warm. Like, I know you'll be stretching when you're out here. You'll be laying out for balls. Like, it's all good. Because that overstretch is something I'm very conscious of, since I've done so much play with stretch shortening cycle, and being able to be the lightest I've ever been, quickest I've ever been, most explosive I've ever been with that intention, and knowing that comes from the ability to initiate force and relax. And you talk about recoil and rebound. Those are the things where I have so much play. Usually requires that I'm constantly spiraling, twisting. I'm doing so much more with rolling. Getting to one of the best courses I took from Paul Chek and the Chek Institute was infant development, because that was so based on the development of the vestibular system that most people either maybe didn't get because they're confined in a little prison, or they don't have the rich activity life that they could as kids, and certainly don't really have that through modern athletics development and things like that. And thankfully there's such an abundance of content on Instagram now, and I'm constantly bookmarking all these great creative warm-up ideas, competitive drills for people to test their balance. And like, one of my favorites that I saw the other day was competitive balloon taps, where it's physical, like you keep tapping the balloon up and you got to box people out, you push people over, for volleyball players, basketball players, anybody. But I bring all that up to say, because that would require a commitment to playfulness. And it's been years since I've entered into the gym with a blue collar mentality of I just got to grind this out. And it has much more to do with the curiosity around, well, what part of my anatomy, what part of my fascia, what part of my athletic perspicacity awareness can I touch today? And a lot of that comes to, do I have all 10 toes on the ground as I reach in a calf extension? Am I able to feel my glute as I do continuous jumping rope? Am I able to do a 180 and press and things like that? And I'm just having way more fun with that, so I'm glad you're on that vibe as well. And
I'm all about the ankles right now, ankles and hips. It's like, how can I stay in the lowest squat possible? So I'm with you with the not stretching. I don't think stretching does what we think it does.
No,
now that I'm learning the tissues.
and just my quick addendum to that, just to punctuate that point, I've also been off the coffee for a year and a half. And that is no coincidence that I've been able to feel so resilient, so hydrated. And I mean, I think that because for a long time, even following people like Functional Patterns and others who said, it dehydrates you, yeah. And still, I'll make up for it. I'll uber hydrate and mineralize and all that. And, I don't believe in coincidences anyway, and it's all part of the design and all part of the balance. And so I think that has a lot to do with the stiffness and the soreness that a lot of people feel, because again, that's stuff. I see people come in iced coffee in hand to the tennis court. And, that's a tough match to make to go compete. So, but you were saying you experimenting with the squat. You don't think stretching does what people think it does.
I love that you've been off coffee for a year and a half. I know that's like a really intense cultural addiction to break, because it's like part of everything. And the people that are like, coffee doesn't dehydrate you, it changes the pH in your system, which changes the fascia. Yeah. So it's okay if you have, like, to me, cold brew coffee is more alkaline, and that to me affects the system just ever so slightly different. And like, the best thing for your fascia is super alkaline, like delicious water, and I think like some of the richest like good teas in the world, and minerals. Like, not that it's funny, it's like caffeine is a diuretic, and then like coffee has these principles, but how they drip through the body, like sometimes coffee helps people go to the bathroom, and so for them, like, it's a benefit. I feel I used to never feel like this on podcasts. I used to just feel like a flushing of I knew what I was talking about, and now sometimes, like, even though I've said that like coffee's shitty for your fascia, that's why I don't do it, it's like, but it doesn't dehydrate it like other things dehydrate it. It dehydrates it in this pH way. And there's so much more thought now that I have about like, oh shit, I don't want somebody to take that and be
Coach's curse. Yeah, Coach's curse. It's the same. Like, I mean, seriously, I talk about Coach's curse when I go play and I hit a bad shot and I say, okay, I know exactly why. And it's, usually technical. Although I do tell people it's all right to miss. It's not all right to be stupid. And, sometimes you just make an ill thought shot. But then let's be specific then. What do you think is more of a contributing factor to the dehydration of fascia? Is it motion-based, posture, lack thereof, posture-based? What do you think?
Water in, water out, and then lack of movement. Whether that movement comes from like very confining shoes, whether it comes from sitting 8 hours a day. Even for sitting, like if you have a Pilates ball, like everybody talks about these wobble chairs that like are good for your spine. It's like you could just take a decompressed Pilates ball. Yeah, put that right under your ass. If you can't handle it under your ass because your pelvic floor is weak, you can put it behind your back. And you can create instability. And what I don't think we realize, because we look at the body as muscles instead of like woven rivers. And so when you're sitting in a posture, you have these little eddies that form in the system, like where the fluid can naturally kind of get stuck. And this fluid is so small and it's moving on a repulsion network. It's moving magnetically. It's like two opposite sides of a magnet that you squish along. And when a truck driver is sitting for 8 hours a day in a truck, an office desk person is sitting in their desk for 8 hours a day, the immobilization that happens through your mid-back, with all of that time, and then the lack of circulation to the feet and the calves and the upper legs, that builds up. And then if that person's on medication, now you have like particles in those rivers that are getting stuck in those same spots. You start to get like weird capillary damage, weird neuropathies, and it's like, to me, the best thing we could think about is the body is a river of fluids. So the more we take care of the fluid that we bring in, water in, and the more often we sweat out, water out, we can change our relationship. Now, when it comes to scar tissue, when you stretch and you have scar tissue in your body, you are not gently opening that up. Scar tissue needs a compression protocol for it to find and recoil into its proper space. And the fabric of the body the fascia is not just like a little layer underneath the skin, it's wrapping through everything. So the entanglements of it can freeze certain things. That's why I think a lot of people have shoulder and back pain from what's happening lower in the body. And I think the perfect testament to this is people that normally have joint pain and it's on one side and not the other. If they were to look at their feet, one foot has more function than the other. And so the body has compensating weight patterns. So just by unsticking the bones, all of the tissue in between the bones of the foot, and getting the toes more mobile, and then slowly brushing out the fascia of the lower limbs and legs, we can basically increase the fluidity of all of these rivers, and the things that were stuck at the bottom of the river start to come up and out.
This is why I'm dubious and skeptical at best of things like gravity, because if you just take the theory of gravity at its face value, people would say, well, how could it go up? Obviously it has to go up and out somewhere, but it's things like that. We're talking about real motion that goes against what people think would be possible.
Like plasma, you know what I mean? Like this is blood plasma, and then this replicates like a lot of our fluids, and it coagulates. You know what I mean? So like any woman that has a period would be like, oh, that looks kind of familiar. Sorry to say. So like the rhythmic pumping of these fluids require a deep breath pattern. And to me, a deep breath pattern is, I would metric it as the movement of the lumbar part of the spine and diaphragm. So somebody can like take these big elaborate breaths, and if the spine is not moving, there's no pump of the CSF fluid. So the breathwork pattern is shitty. That's how I grade breath.
This is particularly relevant for me because I'm happy to brag, thanks to musical breathwork. Advertisement. Shameless plug. I got my first 2+ minute breath hold today at the end of.
Hell yeah.
And I was 65, 70 seconds on the first test, about a year ago. And this is day 33. I'm doing a 100-day gong of 10 minutes of breathwork every day. Sometimes it's yours, sometimes it's coherence. And cool. But I wonder, because you talk about the lumbar spine, you still coach to that a great place to practice is lying down on the floor, and if so, why is that? Because I think people would think like maybe I know there's the subtle curve at the bottom, but have you evolved on that at all? Is it better to do it sitting on a ball or in a chair or on the ground? Where have you landed with that?
I love breath work horizontal because there's no pressure on your diaphragm. And the diaphragm is the major pumping motion of the lungs. So anytime you're sitting upright, your diaphragm is being used to balance your posture. Yeah. So even if you're sitting back against the wall, right, and you're using a wall to support you, your diaphragm is still engaging with balancing the rest of your body from falling, like left or right. So when we're laying down, we let the diaphragm be free. We let it open to its maximum capacity. We also get to feel the intercostals through the back, which I think are the hardest for people to feel. Yeah. They can like take a deep breath and kind of wiggle their chest out, or like might be able to wiggle their sides out a little bit, but very seldom do people feel comfortable like fully like releasing the shoulders and opening the back, and that's where we have a ton of lung tissue. So horizontally, also as a coach, like people look around the room, so anytime I have them on their back, they can just look at the sky, so I think it keeps them like a little more in their own body and in their own experience. And then when we add pelvic floor in level 2 mighty breath, and we add the toes in level 3, there is a bottom like body wide system that we're calling back online. And we had it as kids, like our big toe, our pelvic floor, our diaphragm, our tongue, they're all connected. And when we are engaging the tongue properly, right, we're creating a little ever bit so slight pressure on the skull bones so that they can kind of float. And then we are shoving the breath through the lumbar on the inhale, and then on the exhale, we're letting that entire lumbar diaphragm retract back in. So we start to play a game with our CSF, almost like we are dialing this fluid and flinging it to our frontal lobe. So we're creating this washing machine just by getting the shape right, because you can do that slow or fast. When we do it slow, we can kind of ride that feeling into new awarenesses, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, the idea of a 360-degree breath for me has been so powerful. To access that, and I do feel like I can very much still get it on the ground. I just see a lot of prevailing recommendation for breathwork to be done in that seated position, I have always felt that I haven't been able to access that first move, that lower part of the diaphragm, which is where so much of the power starts. Say a word, if you would, for, and go ahead with your thought as well, but I have developed, because I have a ladies team that I coach, and they're in their 40s, plus or minus, and they have kids, and I would encourage them, beseech them, implore them to do some bouncing exercises, because what is tennis if not a bouncy, elastic sport? And they said, Coach Tom, you don't understand. Like, we've all had kids. If I pee out here, this is your fault. And I said, well, that is a responsibility I'm willing to take. And it did give me a nudge to that part of the body that I have had a great deal of interest in, which is the pelvic floor. And I'd love to hear what your own explorations have been coaching people through that, because I think, you can bring your friend in over your shoulder. What's your friend's name over your right shoulder?
Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Sam,
yeah.
I am. Because it is like, I remember reading once, someone asked, do men have pelvic floors? And I get it. It has much more to do with the vaginal canal, but it's
but you guys do, absolutely.
Of course. I mean that, but what's so unique about that is it is the floor for pretty much all of our organs exist above that level. I know there's stuff going on in the calves and stuff like that, but all of our vital organs exist above that, and it's a muscle as a floor. Like, it's not anything solid.
It's like folds.
Yeah.
It's like folds on every, but on the inside it's like layers and layers and layers of like folds and webbings, and then when you get into the fascia, it's basically just like tubes. It's all just like woven tubes. Now, like, okay, so imagine this, your bladder. Okay, for women, it's like put in front of our uterus. So there's this like full pressing feeling that happens. Now, when you go to the bathroom, there's a decompression that happens. That whole organ like flattens within. There's not an empty space. It's not like a pocket that's like empty and ready to be filled. And I feel like this is the part of the body that we don't get from medical books. We get these like cartoonish diagrams of muscles, and we think of them as separate parts instead of this like very like connected tubular system that's all grown together, more like the roots of a tree. So as these like organs expand and collapse, it's very complicated in a woman's body, because like the uterus swells 3 times its normal size during our cycle. So like as that swells, it creates all this pressure on the internal organs. So if the fascia is dehydrated or stuck through the midsection or in the thoracolumbar, or you have hella low body asymmetry, when that uterus swells, you are going to feel the most nagging, intense cramps radiating. And that's just the joy of fascia flow and how it affects people. Because when we start to take care of our fascia, rehydrate our fascia, when these adaptations happen within the body, the fascia just changes with it. It's only where we're feeling that tension is where the tissue is not responding elastically. And that's what the fascia flow shows you. So like as you're going through the compression protocols, your body's mapping out, oh shit, we're not elastic here, we're not elastic here, we're glued shut here. That's what the vocabulary sets us up to identify. And then the protocols help us trigger the hyaluronic acid so that it unwinds. So with the pelvic floor, there are exercises I would love to show you that helps the body sense the pelvic floor again. And to me, the breath shape is more important. So like I wait till level 2 to teach people about it. But like a really good thing that I was shown at one of the fascia congresses was you take a balloon, and it's like a tiny balloon. You fill it up so that it fits in somebody's hand. And you can kind of psychically think of the pelvic floor as your hands like this. So just like our diaphragm, there's 3 sections that move the diaphragm forward, outside, and backwards. The pelvic floor have different muscle groups that pull it in on the front, pull it in on the back, and then pull it in on either side. And you can use your fingers to start to feel those separations. And if we were to put something like a little tension mechanism in your hand, like a little balloon, and you were to close your eyes and then you wiggle your ass, okay? Because like if you're not soft in the tissue it's hard to feel. Like if your body is just rigid as hell, it's difficult to like gain sensation. So like wiggle your ass a little bit, you know what I mean? Hold on to a balloon or like a squeezy ball, and then imagine your pinkies represent like the front bottom part of your pelvis. Your pelvic floor, and then just kind of like squeeze upward, and it doesn't have to be like a lock shut. I feel like so people are difficult on the body. We're talking about like a gentle lift. This is gonna feel like if you needed to go, like if you needed to fart, you were holding the fart in. Okay, when we push down, right, and this is actually where a lot of people struggle with, like I think it's 1 out of 6 women have pelvic floor dysfunction. And a lot of people think it's because they can't cinch, but you lose the ability to cinch when you can't push down. So that like actual feeling of like, okay, you're gonna fart and you're gonna let it rip, that feeling is the pelvic floor pushing down. So when we marry this lifting up and pushing down with the breath, you can literally do it either way. So as you inhale, the way that I teach it to build energy, this is not the usual way that it's taught in America. As you inhale, diaphragm comes down, you would pull up on the pelvic floor. And you would pull up nice and slow to create compression on all of your internal organs. This is going to increase your digestion and create pressure. Then, as you exhale, with the mighty breath, we exhale like from the nose, pushing the air down, right? As that happens, you would push the pelvic floor down, creating expansion through the internal organs. Now, if you see the body like a battery, like I do, and the organs as an essential part of moving the energy within that battery around, this compression exercise will create a movement, a circle, within that battery. So the idea is, you know, if we have a good breath rate, we can go outside for a walk, and each step can trigger, like from toe to pelvic floor to diaphragm to tongue position, a movement, a compression. And like to me, all energy is borrowed. So the better I get at pulling energy into my body and discharging that energy, the stronger and the mightier my battery gets to be.
And what do you think that could unlock for someone? I mean,
Everything.
yeah, truly, because that's our power base. I actually have this book right here, sort of my first introduction to this, and I do recommend this. It's called The Power Source, and it really is a woman who did that deep dive into pelvic floor work. And you know, there's been some disclaimers since from someone like Irene Lyon, I believe is her name, and has spoken about that can unearth for people a significant amount of emotional confrontation because of how much can be stored there. And yet, you know, this is the nuance, the portal, which I know you like to touch often, between can we unlock something first on the physical side of that portal or on the, you know, a metaphysical or emotional or spiritual side of that. And I think there's opportunity in both. Some people are, you know, maybe a little bit more inclined to go to that intangible place. And yet, the more we do, I mean, I've certainly felt of course, the breath is something else entirely, as you know. But from just these 30 plus days of taking time, 10 minutes to be deliberate about my breath, to challenge myself sometime with some long exhale holds or inhale holds, or just a Fibonacci sequence of, I mean, one of the most powerful things that I've done is a 21-second box breath, to be able to slow down enough to have a 21-second inhale, a calm 21-second hold, a confident 21-second exhale and another hold. And I've certainly felt the marked shift to slow down, be more present and deliberate. And I certainly, we're going to explore the presence element. But yeah, what are some maybe particularly notable and memorable revelations you've had or seen when you help people bring more attention to the power that is in the pelvic floor?
Oh, I mean, yeah. A lot of people are disconnected to that. So even just them having a pathway back to feeling it, I'm not sure how to answer that question, because, like, what do you want to know? Like, do people cry? Yeah. Do people feel weird? Yeah. Like, but do they have a tool that will restore the connection to the deep innards of their body? Yeah, do most people feel like they're floating above their body and like not really able to connect with it, or they feel disconnected or numbed out to their intuition and inner voice, and like that comes online? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
because
different for everybody, you
for
know?
sure, and I mean, it's humbling when you realize that someone can't feel a pinky toe or, God forbid, a big toe or something like that that has a connection to significant functions in the body. Like, that's one thing, if someone, because I know you mentioned the people's inability, the disconnection from sensation, that rigidity is what keeps people from being really intimately tuned to their body. And anything that we can do, or anything that you can do at least, to invite people back to that, I think, is what unlocks the most. And that really is a power source, pelvic floor, because that is where our creative, regenerative, vital source is stored. It's where our sex organs are. I mean, that to be disconnected from that is to be disconnected to our own ability to regenerate, recreate. It's not exclusively just about bringing life into the world. How do you bring life into your being every day? How are you able to get lit up in the loins to go do what it is that you love to do? And if you can offer that to someone, I mean, that is a massive, massive upgrade. And so I just more just confirmation that people have seen the vitality that comes from that. Because otherwise to be
It's funny.
disconnected is
As
tough.
a coach, I feel like it's sad in the beginning when they learn how much they can't feel it. And like there's this heartbreak that you hold space for as they train it, and like they lose. And like I think when people, they run through this little like side ab exercise I do, so that they, like, if they're numb on one side, we can start to activate that feeling again. And it's just interesting. So it's like the pelvic floor takes time for people to move into. I see that there's more resistances about learning that lesson. Like, it's not everybody wants it. And then the people that want it, there's this increased awareness around how disconnected they were from their body. And they either get excited about reconnecting it, which is like why athletes are so great, because like when they suck at something, they're like, wow, something else to reach towards. But a lot of other people get really sad when they see like the weakness in them. And then it's like, it becomes a matter of choosing my words distinctly in order to like give them hope as they move through that reconnection.
Yeah. Because especially in that moment, no one needs the old ball coach telling them to, grit down and figure it the fuck out. Of course, I know that's not your tact anyway. But, one of the things that was revealed just in a little bit of homework on that was because the layers to our relationship to our body, a lot of that does have to do with just rejecting or denying the relevance of that area for so much of our life. Boys are told, keep your hands out of your pants, and it's it's sort of a, as we know, that just a part of us that has a lot of taboo around it. And there's not, for women it's way more complex. I mean, thankfully I have a coach in my sphere, Emily Maiden, who has picked up the mantle to help educate some women about the myriad aspects of the female sex organs. We're a lot simpler. It's basically 2 or 3 things, just about I guess 3, the 2 are 1, but not as exciting for sure. And still, like, the shame factor and the disconnection factor that people are embroiled in. I mean, these are the things that we get through as coaches and athletes that, you do have to find your way through that. And it is a challenge. It is an invitation to do things differently. And, and just know that, I mean, I can imagine the sadness aspect. There's a high level of sensitivity to help guide people through that. Because, humbling is one way to say it, but to not have access to that feeling, that essential part of your body. But then once you get there, then you're enlivened, then you're unlocked. And
the weird hope about it, Tom, is like people have to carve it out for themselves. So it's like I kind of feel like sometimes I'm like the leprechaun at the end of the rainbow, and I'm like, come on, if you do it, it'll be fun, But like they still have to do the work. And like I think some of them are like, fuck, I have to do the work, and like they really realize it, and it's like, it'll be fun. And like like how awareness is, like as awareness increases, like there's good and there's also sometimes not so good. There's this And I play instruments, so like when you learn how to play guitar, you suck for 6 months, and then when you get 6 months in, you suck just enough to realize how bad you suck. But like you have gained your basics to like start pursuing at least a general direction of sucking less. Golf is the same. You suck for 6 months, and then 6 months in, you go, wow, I really fucking suck. And you're way better than where you started, but you have like a general grasp of where you are in the grand landscape. And with health, like, I think the job that we have is to make it look fun. That way they want to do the hard work that it takes. And because the journey's not always happy. Like the journey of really listening to the body is like very novel and unique and intimately like only for you. And there's this like breadcrumbs, and you find people and these ideas light you up. And like taking sovereignty truly back is a wild game that you play with your inner voice. And I think that people would do themselves a giant service by separating their consciousness. So like all meditation practices say, be present, be present. And like nobody defines what that fucking actually means. And we have a brain, and this brain is non-local, and it can go past and forward in the future. It's timeless. I could take it to go and see my grandma or my grandpa. I could go take it to the other side of the world, and then I could be back here. But my awareness, like what's coming in from my nerve, like from my nerves, from my body, from the temperature in the room, that is my awareness. And my awareness is highly intelligent. It's a body on its own. And this awareness and this consciousness, when I pull them together, that's presence. And so for me, meditation is a practice of bonding your mental consciousness with your physical awareness. And that can take a lot of different forms. You could be shut up in a room just focusing on your breath, and you're steering your mind into all of the intricate layers, all of the textures that you can feel within your breath, right? But you could also be sitting outside in a park and taking your ears on a ride, like your ears are a part of awareness, and counting how many birds you can hear, trying to guess how far away certain people are. You can sit at a restaurant and indulge in all of the flavors and taste, like to the best of your ability, really tasting the food. All of these are practices of meditation because we're bringing our consciousness right where our awareness is. And like when we are where our feet are, that's when we're in the present moment.
And it is truly three-dimensional because, to be truly here, there's a past element, there's a future element as well. And this is my little bit of tism with words. Do you, in your parlance, distinguish between, because I know you said awareness, but like my growing education around the difference between, because there's been this fashion of the last couple of years, people who are disciples of Huberman and the like that are so obsessed with neuroscience. And yes, it has its place. I think a lot of that stuff in the capital S science world can be storytelling, and the first principles are worth revisiting. We've seen this with things like viruses, even vitamins. That's why I love that you talk more about minerals, because vitamins are, they're similar to viruses. They're really only quote unquote proved to exist insofar as that there's a chemical soup, and people then extract one thing and say that that's a vitamin, just like they do with viruses. So I'm wary of the storytelling. And I have much more of an interest, even if it is nebulous, although I think you're speaking to it here, the difference between brain versus mind. And like when you say awareness, I think more of mind, that my mind travels past and future, that my mind is able to have this spatial awareness or this nervous system awareness. And the brain has its functions, but I'm curious, because I know you've interviewed neuroscientists and people who can speak more deliberately to these distinctions. And so, do you employ mind or do you prefer awareness? And do you see a separation between that and what just a brain does?
This is this is the current question that I have that kicks around my mind, right? That I don't have an answer to. So welcome to the riddle.
Yeah.
Are our brains, thoughts, and memories stored in our neurons, or are they stored in the field? And the neurons is just the phone number to where it is in the field. It's just like a GPS location.
Yeah.
Like, is all of everything that animates a dream, right? Is that all chemical fabrications and electrical signals, like, in this? Or is this more like our phone, and there's this data information that is stored here that allows us to access the information out there? So, like, is the brain a storage unit, or is it an interface?
It strikes me as an interface, because just even the way you framed it there, I don't think that chemical reactions have that level of consciousness. I mean, that's more of what an ether can be for. And I like that image that you gave, though, that this is probably the phone number that gets dialed and we can receive, and it is individual to us.
So if we can, let's just take a walk, like, whether we're right or wrong, let's just take a walk down that sidewalk for a minute. If the information is stored in the field, like Eileen McCusick theory talks about, like, your birth is at the edge of your electromagnetic field, and then your memories taper inwards, and then that field flexes based on your electromagnetic pattern that day, which is emitted from the heart and from the brain, and the coherence between those two kind of depict the pulsing regularity of that field. If we were to consider the brain as a interface that's storing the location of memories and thoughts and desires, right? That means that those things are floating around us, which, okay, I don't have a good leadway there. Like, where I'm stuck, this is where I'm stuck. The water within our body changes to the electromagnetic fields. So we have this thought that we are perceiving with our awareness, yet we have a field that's suspended. That field could be perceived best by the water inside of our body. The water inside of our body is, I believe, managed and texturized best by the fascia. Mm-hmm. So as the fascia becomes fluid, pliable, and, like, louder with how we perceive it, then the information within this field, I know that I'm taking a lot of steps down this sidewalk path.
I'm with you.
The field becomes perceivable via the water within our body. So, like, Veda Austin is proving that water holds memory, right? So, like, are we storing, but it's like a transferable memory. So, like, you can, like, dump new water into your body, and those memories can be transferred. Are the memories stored in water? And the electromagnetic field is what's organizing that watery field, and the brain is simply kind of another muscle organ that is a very specific river. Like, there is a very specific river around the brain, and I think, like, the flow of the CSF fluid is maybe the most important part of neuroscience, is the flow of this fresh fluid that's made every day in the ventricles that wraps down the spinal column. The flow of that fluid, I think, is significantly more important than, like, the little tiny chemical compounds that are happening in it, because those are all managed and informed by all of the electrical signaling, which comes from this kind of, like, bigger conversation. So, like, you can change somebody's brain by, like, sticking them in the room with a bunch of, like, loud noises and bright lights. Like, you can change the brain because of the environment. If you take somebody and you put them in a natural environment, you can change the brain. So, like, the brain is a perceiving organ that could be overwhelmed in any one way. So, like, to me, it's not the dictator. And I just am genuinely curious, like, based on some of these, like, crazy little case studies where people's brains, like, stopped functioning, yet their memories were intact. And it's like, well, maybe the memories are not where we thought they were. Like, maybe the brain is, it's only made of two types of cells. Like, these signals that happen are just like storms, and they change all the time, and they're, like, drug induced. Like, they're influenceable which is why I feel like science really promotes all of these studies, because they're looking for how to change, influenceable consumer habits. But like, what if our field is the storage unit for this, and the brain is just like this tiny little... Anyway, I just have questions. I don't have answers.
Questions get us further down the road, because an answer is a stopping point. And we have to do our best, I believe, with the answers that we have. And like I said earlier, when we know better, we do better. I'm taking a very conscious and deliberate long stare at the things that I think I know, because it is just things that I think I know. And this is not to be nihilistic or a moral relativist or reality relativist or anything like that. It's just, at some point we do choose, and I've said this many times on this podcast, and because I love it, I say it again, with the idea that my body is brilliant and it's never made a mistake. That is the most beautiful paradigm that I have. I don't adopt or embrace the idea that there's invisible little things out to get me, that I'm powerless against certain toxins or chemtrails or anything like that. I believe vehemently in the resilience of the body, and that keeps talking about my field. That keeps my field constantly buzzing in a way that promotes strength, resilience, harmony as best I can. I lose the plot sometimes, for sure, and I know that I can always return to that, because I've certainly had some health initiations. I think I messaged you when I lost my voice for a month. And that was, that was such a trip, Brooke. That was such a trip, because I was really finding a groove with my coaching, and people are always commenting on my voice and how loud and emphatic and supportive I am. And to be without that felt like I was without, my greatest weapon, sword and shield, really. And go ahead.
What did you do to recover? Like, remind me of the success of that story.
I let it ride. I started off with... the things that you do, there's honey and there's warm water. I think I messaged you about, is that something that it's still all right to do mighty breath breathing practices through, a couple of times a day, because I wasn't sure if there was just maybe a lymph issue, some sort of stagnation there. I would do a little bit of breath work on the inversion table, which was just great fun. I don't know if that made all the difference. But when I took some homeopathics that I thought were aligned with what was happening to me, because it felt like there was just no vibration. Like, it was a daily hoarseness that wasn't fatigue. It was just there was nothing firing. And of course, everyone's in my ear saying, well, what, don't you have laryngitis? Did you go to the doctor? I said, the doctor is not going to tell me what I have or what is really going on. So I really just let it ride. And, I was still coaching, I wasn't screaming all day long. I couldn't. Continue to breathe. At some point, there was a surrender. I brought up the homeopathics, Brooke, because, as you likely know, if you've had any experimentation with them, because they're energetic interventions, I was feeling, after taking one for about a week, and this was about week 3 of not having my voice, I remember walking away from a group of people I was coaching, and I almost wanted to cry. I was like, this is just so, I just feel the sadness and some anger and some grief with not being able to employ something that I believe God has given me to use for good. And I brought that same energy into the bathtub that night, and I had to revisit something that I had absolutely mentally bypassed, which was that I had an experience that I learned something about someone very close to me from other people that I did not know that this person did. And I literally, I just remember the moment only after the fact, and Jordan, my wife, brought this to my attention. She said, it was dead silence for what felt like an eternity for you, because I usually have something to say. And it was just something that I literally choked on, could not speak my full truth to. And that moment of the bath was a true aha and a release. And the recovery was, not immediate, but, escalated quickly within the next couple of days. So that was what I deduced as the emotional component. I just really didn't do much else to intervene physically or medicinally. I just finally had to reckon with that thing that it's easy above the shoulders, mind or brain, to say that's no big deal. They've done this to you before. People do this all the time. You're stronger than that. And yet, it's not, I don't really buy into the whole the body keeps a score. I know what people mean by that. It's just more that I had not, I didn't stare down the barrel of that emotional truth and how it landed with me, because that's the danger of bypassing, right? Is, it just, things get stuck, unless you clear them. So that was my story with that.
I appreciate you sharing it. And I gotta tell you, like, I see a woman and I have the hardest time trying to explain what she does to people. But I went for a session and she told me, I'm just laying on her table. She goes, your adrenals are outside of your body. The adrenals are the glands that are above the kidneys that regulate your adrenaline. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you have them on loan energetically to someone else and you need to take them back. And like, this is just, just somebody that I trust because I think that she holds a divine space. And she didn't know this, but like for 2 weeks I was definitely having like a urinary problem where I was like getting up 4 times in the middle of the night and like just, I know what was going on. My brother has been in an emotional pattern and like I had been like with him a lot, like taking a lot of calls, spending a lot of emotional energy praying for him, being really worried for him, trying to kind of like moderate on his behalf. And after the session, it was like that night I only had to get up like once or twice and like everything's remained normal. And it's just like, how do I explain that to people? That like, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand why it works. But I know that the field can affect our physiology. And it's like, does the physiology affect the field or does the field affect the physiology? How much are the emotional patterns really ripping at us in a way that we don't understand? How much does communication actually affect the field? When someone says they love you or when someone says they hate you, that damage can be seen within water cells. So like, we're not quite translating all that we're understanding about how sound science changes water because we're not quite seeing ourselves as water beings yet. And the closer we get to this, we are a rhythmic pulsing river system that relies on the electricity to move it. The more I think we can troubleshoot where we're at, what we're doing. Like, why does grounding work? Grounding works because of the electrical charge coming off of the body. Why does circadian rhythm therapy work? It's because your cells are prisms and they are charging themselves constantly. Like as we start to wrap our mind around all of these changes, I think we can make a big jump together. I feel like I just went on a rant. I'm sorry.
It's a timely and beautiful rant, and it's launching us to, especially something that you're alluding to when we talk about awareness. And I don't know if it grows or expands or changes or whatever it does. I've certainly had these last several years be such a steep learning curve of awareness for myself, and something we mentioned a little bit earlier, the dark side. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's evil. It's just, the different shades, right, on the spectrum of greater awareness is you can become more aware of limitations, weaknesses. Usually takes people to reveal blind spots or things that we don't have the words for, which is why it's so valuable to have a coach or someone that, a practitioner, someone who you would trust to reveal something to yourself. When we are in the habit and practice of seeking sometimes tough questions about ourselves, that really is the good work. And I shared this with my friend the other day, that for me, the idea of entering into the noble adventure of marriage was stymied by my growing awareness that I have my own fair share of weaknesses. I also saw weaknesses in my parents as they went through their divorce after 30 plus years of marriage. And I said, well, if I'm not cognizant of all the ways in which I'm like my father, like my mother, and those weaknesses manifest in their own unique way through me, who am I to think that I can enter into a healthy and successful marriage? And thankfully I have enough sage and serious people in my life to say, there's no way to perfect and mold any of that and then say, now you're ready for marriage. It's just one of those things that you go do. So I think that's certainly the case for many endeavors, that as we become more hyper aware of ways that we're less than, not good enough, and stuck, that shouldn't keep us from doing it. Otherwise we'll never get started. And I know before we got going here, and this will be our way to descent and land the plane, because I love the way that you speak about presence, and that being a combination of body and awareness and consciousness. And if you'd like to I invite you, I implore you to bring that home with technology that is, not technology the way we know about it. It's something that can be, I think, seamlessly articulated into how we have an embodied process. So, when I say presence, how have you been able to explore what that means to you?
Okay, I'm going to show that visually. Are you ready? I've been excited. Okay, so this is a Tesla coil. And our nervous system operates at 268 miles an hour, which is like hard to imagine. Like what we are as athletes, like with adrenaline. And like to me, it's everybody. It's not just athletes with adrenaline. It's just when you put yourself under pressure, you happen to have like a really good barometer of how much your heart rate jacks up, and then you feel your breath rate jack up, then your heart rate jacks up, and then you kind of start to feel this tension growing in your body. And when we develop good breath control and good body tension awareness and open toes, we can start to literally funnel those chemicals into the body and leverage it for this new amplified awareness. So it's leveraging adrenaline is like what I wish I could, like, I learned in college, because now as an adult it's hella fun. So 267 miles an hour of our nervous system is this lightning that's coursing through us. So I'm going to turn this on. We may have to play with the dials. Hold on. I got to check the other plug.
Do your thing. This is a worthwhile pause. I know we don't usually do dead air on this podcast. Brooke is getting her props for the Tesla coil, which this is why I encourage you to watch the video, because this is very much worth watching. Watching Brooke tinker with this device that is not known to many of us. She'll tell us here in a moment where she got it from. The idea of the coil, I think I've spoken a little bit about this before, is that's so much of how our body is designed to move, constantly coiling and uncoiling to perform as we do. What do you got there, kid?
My doohickey's not working.
Okay, that's fine. Use your words then. Use the technology of your words. That's okay.
All right, so if I were to have the Tesla coil turned on right now, what we would see is disorganized energy, electrical points going in every single direction without anything to really focus it on. Now, when I would introduce my finger, everything would organize. And it would go right towards my finger. And it would actually build more energy. So it would be able to branch out wider and stronger as soon as I gave it a goal. So this electrical current that we have that courses through us when we are not paying attention to our consciousness and our awareness is just chaos pointed in every fucking direction. But as soon as we give it something to focus on, it can channel significantly more energy. So when we start to look at ourselves as this saltwater battery pack that's pulsing a fluid, and we understand that when adrenaline kicks in, everything kind of vasodilates, just like nitric oxide to a car engine, right? Like NOS to a car engine. When we see this electrical component, we start to see the importance of practices that bring us into presence, because that's how we point that energy. So as a golfer, it's like you literally have a cone of acceptance for your normal shots, and then you have these like you choked shots. And as an athlete, you put yourself under pressure, and sometimes you choke and sometimes you play great, and you want to have a dial of what to do for that. And that dial, it has to do with understanding this concept of like where we hold our consciousness and awareness is incredibly important. And if you're too tense and if your breath rate is too shallow, you're not going to be able to leverage it in a way that is going to make you feel open, free, and expanded. You're going to feel like tense. So I think there's a real physiology to allowing our electricity to expand. So like when I think of optimal performance, when I think of like my greatest golf rounds, they are a mixture of like understanding how to physiologically relax myself as I experience success and failure. And mentally being able to refocus myself on what the goal is in each present moment.
And if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. And as Arthur Ashe, great tennis champion of the 70s and activist, said, everybody chokes. It's usually about who chokes the least. And, being able to move on from that, being able to breathe through that. One of the other great things I know that he said was when you play, be physically loose and mentally tight. A lot of people are physically tight and mentally loose. Their head, their focus is all over the place, and usually that goes into their body. So I love how you channeled that. And you also mentioned off air being able to and tell me this. I know you talked about cone of acceptance, and we'll get a little technical here. I tell people all the time for tennis that we do have this capacity, like you said, especially with the speed at which we can execute. And of course, tennis ball in flight, it doesn't really matter if it's 25 miles per hour or 75 miles per hour. It's still in flight. You got to move, you got to get there, you got to determine your right spacing, what kind of swing, what kind of shot. And at some point, you can't have 3 or 4 different targets in mind. You just got to have a target, and then the ball becomes your focus, because that's the thing that's moving. I tell people all the time, the targets don't change, even in doubles, even if there's 2 people moving around. You just got to pick, and then it becomes about the ball. Golf, you have lots of time to consider your target, but you're thinking all the energy is really going into the ball itself, right? You have your intention.
No, not at all, Tom.
Well, then,
like,
so tell
I'm
me about
at
that.
Okay, so, it's so funny. There's so many different ways to describe this. When I'm standing up on a tee shot, and let's just say I have driver, the best in the world, their drive has a 60-yard swing left and right, depending on... So, like, the way that you would find your cone of acceptance is, like, you stand on driving range and you hit 10 balls with one club. Whatever you're aiming at, the most errant left and the most errant right is your cone of acceptance. That's how you realistically show up on a flat target with no pressure. You'll be great if you can reproduce that on the course. So some people go out with this concept that, like, right out of the gate, they can just be striping it towards the pin. And when you hit shots with that kind of control in mind, you can put yourself in danger. And as soon as you put yourself in danger, your nervous system reacts. So, like, a lot of golfers that shoot around scratch, like, people will say, like, wow, there's such an energy because they're carefree. They're loose. Yeah. They're, like, loosey-goosey. They're, like, way more relaxed than most of the other guys out on the course. And it's because, like, you have to keep yourself relaxed. And, like, you do that by dialoguing with your body intelligently. So, like, if I pick a shot and I'm on fire, it is an absolute art stroke. Like, there is no cone of acceptance. It is like a little paintbrush through the wind. And so, like, I stand behind the ball and I visualize this, like, white paintbrush, and I exhale everything. I take 2 steps on this, like, very empty breath hold. I line up towards my intermediate target. I look at my target down there. And then as I inhale, I pull the club back. And at the top of my swing, I exhale. So it's just like a punch. Like if somebody was to punch you in the face, you would, you would exhale on the follow through. So I punch with my breath and the swing at the same time. But my consciousness is out at the target. I'm not really even in my body. Like if I am in my body, I'm not playing great. And all I think about is my front forward foot. Like I keep my eyes literally on one forward spot of the ball, not just the ball, literally pinpointed like on the front left. And I keep my weight on the ins. Like I just obsess over, if I feel my body during the swing, I obsess over tension and my feet. Like I have to feel my feet. But ideally, I'm not really in my body during the swing. I am at the target and I am witnessing my body execute, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And of course there's going to be differences just by dint of the court itself. But I love the idea of starting to know that range of that range of spray, that cone of acceptance, on the court. That's why we talk about hitting the fat part of the court. Not saying I'm going to go for line, you're looking for margins, and if I'm a fairly accurate player, if I just have that intention, then, so I'm drawing a loose parallel here, but yes, my eyes have to be on the ball, like that, for balance sake, for keeping my head between my shoulders. But of course, that's going to guide my swing, to my target. Of course, I have to execute that way, and there's a consciousness going there.
Yeah, so the cone of acceptance for me when I'm playing smart and I'm like, my swing doesn't feel as fluid and like maybe I'm having a hard time visualizing the shot is, okay, I have an 8-iron in my hand. Like, okay, I got a spray of 30 yards on either side. Let me pick the center of what will keep me in play. You know what I mean? So if there's water right, then I have to make sure I'm aiming at least 30 yards to the left. So there's this cone of acceptance even in your body. Like if I'm hitting a 3-wood over water into the wind and I stand up over it and my body gets tight, we're not going to hit that shot good.
Yeah.
And it's it's like my mind wants to do this and my body's like, the wind is stronger than honey bunny. So there's this, by staying in the cone of acceptance with our life, I think that we can kind of cruise through decisions. And I think that there's a very visceral, physiological feedback to what feels right. Like right action has a feeling to it. Mm-hmm. And wrong action makes you tight, makes you tense. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that may be making a lot of good health decisions, but they continue to make decisions that build tension in their body. And that will lead them to dysfunction as well.
And the real breakfast of champions is feedback. Are you willing to listen to the feedback and tune your body accordingly so that you are sensitive? I believe a healthy body is a sensitive body, and being able to vibrate and receive and listen are valuable skills that we can absolutely train. And I know as much as I can, or I strongly feel that my practices with musical breathwork have helped tremendously with that. And to bring us home, Brooke, since this is Home Court Health, I'd love to ask you 3 quick fire questions. They don't have to be quick. I don't have to go for a little bit. But when we talk about the home base, our castle, what are some things that you've done or something that you've done recently that has helped your home be a place that recharges you and nourishes you, and that when you're home you can feel more like yourself? What's something you've done there?
Bells on all of the doors.
I thought I heard that.
So there are little chimey bells. There's beautiful Indian ones. I have like a piece of jewelry that never got worn that has bells that I draped over another one. There is a cymatic reset for my dog, for my cat, for me, for my parents of this little like ding ding. And there's this sense of like, hello. Yeah. I have my unicorn bell that I think is like very sacred that I got from a thrift store for like $2 whole, and it is my sacred unicorn bell. Like it's so special now. And I draped it with this costume jewelry over this other doorway. So anyway, I would say that adding bell, and I've given them to my aunts now. Wind chimes was, I got my cousin a wind chime and a bird feeder for his wedding gift, and they like are over the sounds.
Wind chime's a great gift, yeah.
The softness in the ether that sounds can bring, I just think are very overlooked. That's something that's made my life like more cozy and a little bit more whimsical. It's just like these little insertions of like different bells that like cue my brain differently, That's brilliant.
That's fantastic. And now on the court, which I know for you is the course, what's something you've been practicing for your performance lately? I mean, is it stage shifting? Is it tactical? Is it technical? Where are you finding some upgrades on the course for you lately?
Oh my goodness. I am playing so good and then occasionally so bad. It's beautiful. I'm gaining some power in my swing, and I really want to do long drive. I'm gonna go in May and just watch. Like they're like right here. Like somehow their starter tournament is like in my backyard. So I'm gonna go to the first one and just kind of take it in. I haven't been able to link up with any of the World Long Drive people here. I've literally reached out to all 14 that placed last year, and I haven't been able to become friends with any of them yet. But I hope there's a bit of an entry into that profession. Like I need to get another driver. And there's a slowdown of the swing. So there's a little bit of metronome training. And so I've been adding the metronome. I've been slowing the backswing down. I took a lesson with JT Thomas. And to be honest, if I train too hard with long drive, my short game gets weird. So like
Sure.
I've been pacing it, and like so my game is tighter. I've been really working on. To be honest, I've been really working on my putting. My putting is. I've changed the routine, and I tell myself, this has been my mantra in my head, is it's so easy my mom can make it.
Way to be loose, kid. Way to be loose.
It's taking the pressure off. I think I
Good.
gamble too much. So like sometimes the 3-footers are worth
Literally.
several like $100, and I just like
Yeah.
oh, and then when you say that you're like, okay, it's only worth 270, like blah, blah. And I'm just like, I could buy this. Like the unnecessary shit that you don't buy yourself is like what you do with gambling money. And then I miss it. And then like if so, I've been telling myself it's so easy my mom can make it. So I've been playing a little bit tighter, but changed my routine. And the art of golf is really endless. And one of my homies shot 62 lately, and he was telling me the fucking playback story. And there is such a mindset. Like I only know 2 people that have shot 62, and I have interviewed them like so intensely about staying calm, because there is a ceiling to your success. And like when you play golf and you start to like rope it in, like I hit that ceiling like on the front 9 and get a couple birdies in, and I'm like, oh shit, like I haven't broken 70 yet. So for me, I would love to go lower, and there's a true release into your greatness that like I love to flirt with. I still feel like I am not clocked out there. And the more I learn about breath rate, like now it becomes art. I mean, I'm out there and I'm just catching flows on hole 14 that like I haven't been able to catch before, because even my understanding of leverage and tension is so different in the game now. I mean, I'm hitting the ball hard, like harder than ever, effortlessly, because I feel the drive from the ground. Anyway, I've been working on my golf game in a lot of different directions, and it's been great.
Well, yeah, there's good investments to be made on and off the course, so I'm sure your best is still in front of you. And with your health, Brooke, something that's been a massive upgrade for your health that you've embraced lately.
I have increased my sauna tremendously. I'm doing sauna like 5 days a week now, and my skin is fantastico. And also, I just feel like the lymph is always, like I'm not dealing with, like I haven't dealt with bloated days in a while, but I still deal with like puffy face days. And I feel like as my sauna is consistent, there's just like little things that fade away. Like makeup starts to feel a little silly because like your skin feels so clean and clear. The quality of water and the minerals that I have with the extra sauning, with the extra water out, I just feel like I'm a bit more dialed. My recovery is tighter. That's been a big add, and I highly recommend it to people.
Thank you for that nudge. I'm definitely going to find myself in the sauna after my hitting lesson here in a bit. But Brooke McPoyle, it is always a pleasure and a privilege to share this time with you, and I'm just over the moon that we get to be together very soon. And I mean, I'll be at all of your sessions, especially starting my day, because yours is at 7 Saturday morning in the brewery, and then I'm on at 9. So that's going to really talk about state activation. That's going to set me up, I think, perfectly for one of the best days ever. Where can people find you, and any other inside golf that you'd like people to know for the rest of the year?
My name is Brooke. Everything that we talked about is musical breathwork. So our website is musicalbreathwork.com. We have a number of digital programs. We have a membership, and it's just however you best learn, we are happy to deliver it to you that way. I am excited about what we got going on this year. Definitely doing some, I have my first medical conference over in Virginia Beach. I'm doing a lecture, and I'm kind of excited. I'm cleaning up some of my lectures to make it doctor proof. And I got an event in Tennessee, and I guess the last thing I would want to leave people with is like, just be mighty. Like right now there's a time where people want you to feel vulnerable about who you are, and that makes you a great consumer if you feel insecure. So remember, your body heals from the inside out when you give it the proper tools. We are grown more like a plant. We are not like bits and pieces with bolt-ons. We are grown, and by taking this relationship to the water inside of us, to the water outside of us, we can have a healthier, more natural relationship to making vast changes very easily within the system.
That is a perfect punctuation to memorable and top flight conversation. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Dude, so jazzed. I'll see you in a week, man.